Hey, Randy Joe here, and this is 1001 Reviews, the series where I plan on reviewing every single album from the 1001 Albums to Listen to Before You Die book. And today we are looking at Wu-Tang Clan's 1993 album, Enter the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers. Now, 36 Chambers was released in 1993 under the Loud label, produced by RZA, one of the Wu-Tang members, by the way, with art direction from Jacqueline Murphy, nationality USA, and a runtime of 61 minutes and 35 seconds. And quite honestly, it might be the best hour you might ever get out of this book, to be quite honest with you, because there is not a single track off of this album that is bad. And I'm just going to kick off the review by saying that this album is just a masterstroke of genius, with every song being pretty much perfect to the T. This is the debut album of Wu-Tang Clan, and maybe one of the best debut albums I've ever heard from an artist ever, or should I say artist, because at the time of this release there was 8 Wu-Tang Clan members, which is insane on its own. But this never feels like it gets overcrowded or becomes too much, as the members of this group are pretty well diverse and well split among the tracks here. The first song, Bring the Ruckus, really does kick off the album in such an amazing and enthralling way, as each member that is on this song really puts some of their best work forward, especially Ghostface Killah, who is, in my opinion, lyrically the most talented in the group. Like, what an amazing way to kick off such a monumental album, with the verse from Ghostface Killah starting with, Ghostface catch the blast of a hype verse, my Glock burst, leaving a hearse, I did worse, I come rough, tough like an elephant tusk, your head rush, fly like Egyptian musk, aw shit. Damn, aw shit is right, because that is some amazing fucking rhyme schemes. Pardon my language, but I gotta say, these syllables that are just being rhymed here within every single line is just on epic proportions. I mean, I haven't heard rhymes this good in a long time, and very rarely do you hear something like this today. And Ghostface Killah manages to maintain this entire energy, not throughout just this opening track, but throughout every single song that he's in on this album. He's putting his best foot forward throughout this whole thing and is constantly on the top of his game. And speaking of members of this group, you also have the member RZA, who is not only the creator of the group and one of the many 8 MCs on this album, but he is also the entire producer of it. I mean, his production, not only on Bring the Ruckus, but especially on the second track here in the album, is absolutely outstanding. This is some of the best production I've heard in this book. I mean, it is super clean while at the same time being raw. It splices in these kung fu-like aspects, which is the 36 chambers element being added in. It's these amazing martial arts sort of sheen that is being put over this whole entire act, and it is just brilliant. The second track especially has such a warmth to it that is just really authentic and raw and visceral, and adds so much depth to an already gorgeous track because of the MCs being put onto it. The 2 MCs on this track actually being Old Dirty Bastard and Method Man. And I'll cover Method Man later in this album, as he is extremely important as well. But on this track, the second track on the album, I specifically want to talk about one of my favorite MCs in Wu-Tang Clan, and that is Old Dirty Bastard. ODB, Old Dirty Bastard for his full name, is just an absolute interesting character. I mean, as far as rappers go, this is one of the most distinct personalities I've heard in rap, period. He has this very goofy and strange and loud, abrasive-like delivery that feels extremely out of this world. I mean, he feels unhinged most of the time, but at the same time knows when to reel it back a bit and not be overblowing his personality. His delivery on a lot of these lines is really just in your face and kind of goofy and silly, but it is enough to be infectious and really draw you in. And lyrically, he may not be as good as someone like Ghostface Killah or Method Man or RZA, but he is extremely unique on his own as a personality, and his personality is really what drives him forward. The best way I could describe it is Old Dirty Bastard sounds sort of like a drunk man that is just yelling and ranting at you about like the end of the world or something, but it's super engaging nonetheless. I mean, that's exactly why you like it so much. He's very much a personality-driven MC, and that is definitely worth having in this group. You also have the song Wu-Tang Clan 7th Chamber, which appears twice on this album as a 4th track, I believe it is, as well as the last track on this album. And both these tracks use the exact same vocals by the MCs and has the exact same verses. There's nothing changed about those, but instead it is the production side and the beat side of things that has changed in both of these songs. And the first song is a bit more laid back and in the background of the track while these MCs do their thing over the beat, whereas the last track on this album, the beat is much more in your face, has a lot more oomph to it, and the drumming kick-like beat that is in here really adds a lot more to it. I prefer the last track on the album over the first version of this one that appears on the 4th track here, but even still, I like both of these a lot. I mean, both of these tracks would be like the greatest song ever to almost any other artist or group of artists or any rap group in general. These songs are fantastic. Both of them are. It's just that one manages to be like an improvement of it, which, like, how do you improve something that's already perfect? I don't know, but Wu-Tang Clan continues to do it. And the members on these tracks really do give some amazing verses continually over and over and over again. And one of the interesting things about this album as well is the fact that when making this thing, a lot of the songs, allegedly, the way they worked was the Wu-Tang Clan would get together and do rap battles against one another, and whoever won in these rap battles would be given certain tracks that they wanted. At least that's what I read online, and if that is true, that really makes for a true hardcore hip-hop-like style of doing things. It's really giving a lot of freedom to these MCs and putting the best MCs forward on the best tracks that they could possibly mix into. And legend has it that in this process, there was also the deal that whoever the best MC was in one particular rap battle would get their own entire track all to themselves. And the one that I guess won that battle was Method Man, as he gets a song on this album entitled Method Man. And it's really easy to see why he gets this track. I mean, Method Man, he's definitely on par with Ghostface Killah in a lot of ways, and I think a lot of people would argue he's better. Personally, I do like Ghostface more, but Method Man, I mean, he's putting out just bar after bar on this freaking track, and it is absolute fire by every word. It is a perfect track, and I'm really happy that Method Man did win this, although if any of them won this, would it have been any worse? Maybe not. I feel like this entire album is just pure gold with every artist, and Method Man does manage to really live up to that hype. Another thing about this album is that Wu-Tang Clan does not shy away from having more emotionally charged tracks. For example, you have the song Tears, which is very much about growing up in these difficult times in the hood and the result of growing up in this and the sort of struggles that they go through. RZA's verse in particular is quite emotionally charged as he talks about this sort of event in which his brother, his younger brother, is killed on the street after just going to pick up some bread at the store. And I don't know if this story is true. I don't know if it's factual. I couldn't really find anything online about it. But even still, the narrative that is being spun here is quite emotional and is given a very sad and mournful message of you should always be able to say love you to your loved ones and really just show your appreciation for them, because you never know when they're going to be taken out of this world, especially in the streets that they are growing up in this track. And I think having tracks like this one, for example, where it is a bit more emotional, does help stop the album from being a constant, absolute bar fest. Despite the fact that it is amazing, I mean, who doesn't like having bar after bar after bar from these extremely talented MCs? But having a nice emotional breather, maybe once or twice throughout the album, really manages to bring this much together and show the diversity of this album. Really show just how much they can do with just 1 hour of runtime. And finally, going back to what I wanted to say earlier, was you really can't stress enough just how amazing the production of this album is. I mean, RZA really does some amazing work on every single song on here. The song Clan in the Front has this amazing funky beat that is very old school hip hop and very warm and energetic, that splices in the Wu-Tang Clan chanting in the background as these MCs do their thing. I mean, the chanting that is added to this thing really adds a lot of punch and oomph to the track that is very much needed and really draws the listener in. On top of this, I love the way Clan in the Front opens up with this chant from RZA where he's just introducing every single MC on the album, and he's saying they're a swarm of bees who are here to swarm the industry and take it over with their rhyme schemes, which really, they did. This is exactly what they did with this album. They took over the industry for a long time and is still considered some of the greatest rappers of all time, not just because of this album, but for the rest of the discography that they continued to put out. And really, this album is just timeless. There is not a single bad track on here. It is just perfect from beginning to end with no filler whatsoever. One can argue that the almost skit-like moments of this album are filler, but really, what more does it do than just continue to add personality and depth to these characters that the Wu-Tang Clan is? These skits that are spliced through here, which I wasn't even going to bother touching on, but now that I am, I might as well say it, are humorous. They are extremely funny. They add so much. They really delve into these different characters and introduce them as they have these almost natural conversations over one another, and they are just like a group of friends who just feel like they're hanging out and kicking the shit, but at the end of the day, they are also extremely talented individuals who come together in such a strong way. I felt myself laughing throughout most of these skits when I heard them. I thought they were really funny and engaging, and even though they are being acted out, feel very authentic and real. So when the Wu-Tang Clan says that they're going to change the industry with this album multiple times throughout it, I have to sort of agree, because not only were they completely right and prove that with this album, but honestly, to this day, I think this is some of the best hip-hop that has ever been put to music ever. Because really, this is the best hip-hop I think I've ever heard in my life, period. And with that all being said, the soft rating of this album came to a 10 out of 10, which means the hard rating is also a 10 out of 10. This is the second ever true 10. A true 10 being when an album receives both a soft and hard rating of 10 out of 10 and is the absolute highest praise I can give an album. It means that I think there's absolutely not a single thing wrong with it. And really, 36 Chambers definitely deserves that. On top of that, it gets an E for essential, which shouldn't be surprising. This is an essential listen and is definitely worth a listen because this is, again, some of the best hip-hop ever. So anyways, that pretty much does it for this review. Let's go ahead and see what the next album is in the 1001 Albums to Listen To Before You Die book. 1 to 1001, generate 526, which is 526 being ZZ Top's Eliminator. So ZZ Top's Eliminator, which I will review in exactly 1 week from now. Anyways, that pretty much does it for this video. And if you liked it, please hit like and leave your opinion on this album below. And also subscribe if you want to follow along and listening to every single album from the 1001 Albums to Listen To Before You Die book. And that's all there is to be said. My name is Randy Joe, and I, of course, am signing off.